You invited us even though you hate us?
No, I don't hate
So
you. I
mean.
just hate the concept.
You hear that? You hear that? They hate me.
No.
They hate me. Why am I
feel like
here?
I feel like we're a little bit not welcome here. I think
No.
I
Anise, I
think
think
we
we
need
should
to
leave.
revolt. I think we need to start destroying things. I think that's the clear
Yeah.
course of action here.
Holding some
Give me that
plates in
mask.
my
Give me that mask.
hands. I'm holding the plates. I'm ready to throw them.
Gotta break as many plates as possible. There's none here. We were planned against.
I was prepared. All we have are the masks on the back, and those are pretty hard to break, so.
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out by the end of this stream.
Hello, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I'm a goof, and I couldn't finagle technical things, so we'll blame it on me. But welcome back to a special, a little bit earlier version of Hungry for Knowledge. So it can't spook you as much because it's not night for everybody. I know it is for somebody, but we're still going to spook you in the afternoon if you're in the same time zone as me. I am joined today by two super cool haunted doll or haunted doll adjacent VTubers, where we are going to talk about model design, spooky stuff, and all that fun hullabaloo. Also, after this episode, please make sure to stop over to YouTube to watch a little lore video, and then hopefully within the next couple weeks, I set an unrealistic expectation for myself, but within the next couple weeks, we will see this edited video as well popping up on YouTube. So crazy me deciding to do an episode every single week and then saying I was going to have them all edited by Halloween. I'm funny. But I will let them introduce themselves. We'll start with Anise.
All right. Hello. My name is Anise. Like you know, is said, I'm a haunted doll VTuber. I'm very good at intros, by the way. I am a variety streamer. I mostly play indie and horror games, indie games, horror games, indie horror games, the whole gambit. Generally, I'm kind of doing a lot of whatever. I'm very impulsive. Kind of just do whatever. The one thing I do really try to focus on my channel, though, is highlighting smaller projects that I'm interested in and I feel don't get enough love and attention. I also make a lot of ASMR on YouTube where I focus more of my like editing, more like I don't know, professionally edited content goes in that direction. I practice this so much, guys, so much.
Meanwhile, I'm just freeballing it at all times.
Oh, I would never
Honestly,
freeball
efficient.
anything. Very professional, very poised.
What games are you currently playing right now on stream?
I think I'm in between a few right now. I think right now it's I was doing like a Resident Evil marathon. I've been really getting back into RPG horror maker games, which I would say is kind of my old-fashioned bread and butter.
Yes.
I know.
Good
I saw you doing like a Resident Evil relay, and I'm like, oh, that's sick as hell. Time to shoot some zombies. Not zombies. I don't know where Ari is anymore.
Monsters. They're called monsters in RE until 4, and then they just give up and call them zombies.
Exactly. And then we also have the super cool Kai Karumba, who's going to introduce themselves.
I'm not sure about the cool part, but hello. My name is Kai. My pronouns are they, he. I'm an actor, an aspiring historian in teacher training, and a Victorian-themed Utite. I don't just look like a dying Victorian. Often, I am just as sick as one, so I apologize if I cough a lot or don't sound so healthy. I used to host study streams when my laptop wasn't dying. I studied linguistics and history on stream with my viewers to prepare for my exams. But nowadays, I'm mainly focusing on vocal covers and other tomfoolery, such as memes.
What was the last cover CB you were in? I can't remember.
The last cover I published was Drift Away from Steven Universe. I kind of, I kind of made the whole cover in one day. And it's one of my most viewed covers of the year.
That's
So I don't know
awesome.
how that happened.
We are handshake emoji because I bet you can't guess what I like to do with my videos sometimes.
What?
Make them all in like 6 hours.
Wow, mood.
I feel that whenever I'm like voice acting a video, even if it's like a 40-minute video, I'll usually do it in like a whole 2-hour take and then just edit it down from there. I feel like if you do things off the cuff sometimes, you kind of get your best work because you get in the mood, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm giving myself a little bit of a break with like some of the videos we put out this month because they're like 15-minute videos versus like my normal like 2.5 hour VODs that I decide I want to edit down in 6 hours. I'm a lunatic.
Goodness gracious.
And then you are also gonna be in a CB with Minty and someone else soon, right?
The problem is we can't find an animator, so
no!
we might just do it as a casual collab. We have we have actually two or three assistant animators, but no main animators, so we sadly cannot join the ZB.
Oh no! I just remember seeing Minty say something, so I'm like, I gotta make sure that you credit yourself as much as possible because I know guests don't like to do that sometimes. They don't share everything when they should because they deserve support. What the hell? Rah!
Yeah.
Let's hop into the questions a little bit. So what was your first experience with haunted dolls and what first made you interested in them / build your streaming OC or persona around it? And since Kai wrote first, I'm going to toss it to Kai first.
Oh goodness. So basically, I actually didn't really come too much in contact with haunted dolls per se, but I've always kind of been fascinated by dolls ever since I could think. I actually really liked creepy things, mainly because my birthday is in Halloween night, so I am very, very drawn to creepy things in general. And actually, my grandmother used to collect pretty porcelain dolls with frilly dresses and cute hairstyles and so on. And many people would deem those as creepy as well, but I find them endearing. I find them so fascinating. And when I was younger, like around 9 or 10, she gifted me one of those dolls and claimed it looked like me. And actually, this doll is looking down at me from the shelf right now.
Aw.
And in terms of my persona, I designed this persona back in 2020 when I was going through several hardships. And I decided I wanted something creepy in my persona. So I decided I'd go for a ragdoll that's patched together because I've overcome some hardships. I'm dealing with hardships and I'm patched up and still going. And my main inspirations for the design, especially the Victorian part, came from the song Twirls of a Flea Faker by Steam Pianist, which I actually also covered around that time. And also Amygdala's Ragdoll by Ghost, mainly because of the winding key at my back, which you can't see because I'm facing forward.
That's all right. We know it's there. That's what matters. See,
It's very important.
it's kind
It's
of
there in
funny
spirit.
because I hate haunted dolls and porcelain dolls so much. I almost added a picture at the end of the video because since I was a child, my mother has a whole like cabinet downstairs full of like old dolls, and like I don't know if that's where the fears come from, maybe, but if there wasn't like family photos inside of it, I would have just taken a picture and tossed that on the video too. But God, I hate him so much. I don't know.
Wait, you invited us even though you hate us?
No, I don't hate
So
you. I
mean.
just hate the concept.
You hear that? You hear that? They hate me.
No.
They hate me. Why am I
I feel like
here?
I feel like we're a little bit not welcome here.
No.
I
Anise, I
think
think
we
we
need
should
a
leave.
revolt. I think we need to start destroying things. I think that's the clear
Yeah.
course of action here.
Holding some
Give me that
plates in
mask.
my
Give me that mask.
hands. I'm holding the plates. I'm ready to throw them.
Gotta break as many plates as possible. There's none. There's none here. We were planned against.
I was prepared. All we have are the masks on the back, and those are pretty hard to break. So,
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out by the end of the stream.
damn it! Oh my
We're gonna get
gosh!
there. Just wait.
I actually got a question for both of you guys before I go on to Anise's side.
Sure.
Before my video, have you guys, either of you guys, ever heard of timeout dolls before?
Time out dolls. It sounds kind of familiar.
So that's what like legitimately messed me up in terms of dolls. Timeout dolls are like, if you watch the video, it's the first thing I go over. But they're essentially like these little child-shaped dolls. And when I say like child-shaped, they're like, if you can imagine, probably the height of like probably a 4-year-old kid. They're usually about that height. They're usually about 3 feet tall, which is already kind of a little bit jarring considering their size. But they're always facing with their hands over their face in a corner because they don't actually have faces most of the time. And my mother had one of those when I was a child, and I like always saw it in the corner. And one day I decided, I'm like, I wonder what it looks like on the front. I turned it around, it had no face. Yeah, no, that was the day.
They're so creepy looking. I love them.
See, the weirdest thing though is like as I went into the rabbit hole of learning about them, apparently one of their like most common uses is at car shows and classic car collectors,
What?
which
Wait.
seems really weird to me.
That's a very odd combination, honestly, because dolls and cars are actually two ends of a spectrum.
Yeah, so there was like 2 reasons that people like claimed for them existing there. One of them being if there was ever like actual judging occurring on the cars, then sometimes people would use the doll to cover up like a scratch on the paint or something like that, to try and get a better score. Yeah, they've actually, if there's ever a competition, you are not allowed to bring one of them and lean it on your doll anymore, or on your car anymore rather, because people were hiding dents and scratches with them.
That's amazing.
That's
I
so
love that.
interesting.
Other thing
I mean, I guess
is-
people are not very likely to touch them to check for the dents if they're creepy looking. I like that.
the other thing is sometimes they would dress them up like the way they would dress in their childhood to kind of like represent their childhood self getting like the car they liked later on in life. I don't know really the whole thing behind that, but I mean, then as I read further, people were literally making like comments on how there's stories about people would leave it in the trunk, and then when they'd wake up the next morning, they'd see it sitting in the passenger seat. So, I mean, I don't know why you would keep that around if that was occurring.
The vibes. The vibes.
Even if like it is like your family doing it just to like screw with you, I still would have like burned that thing and punted it.
Yeah, understandable. That sounds so scary.
But we will now that I'm done with my tangent, we will now listen to Anise's side.
All right. So this is about first experience with haunted dolls, right? Okay. Yeah. So the answer is I actually start off similarly to you with a horrible phobia of puppets growing up. Like puppet dolls generally. I had such a bad fear of Chucky. Like I could handle most other. I was watching a lot of horror movies from a very young age. Like even like 6, 7, my dad would sneak me into like slasher films and stuff. I
Goodness.
could not stand Chucky. Chucky was like the most terrifying thing to me growing up. And I guess as I like got more into a lot of horror media, I especially like later in life, I started gravitating towards things that I was like too scared to really interact with as a kid. So dolls kind of were really scary to me when I was super young, but when I started getting to more familiar with them as I grew older, I really started losing that fear and instead gained kind of a lot of interest, mostly with how people treat dolls, just because, like, I feel like a lot of people have a phobia of dolls, and I get it. It's sort of like the whole uncanny valley thing that's going on, but I also think I just started seeing them as cute, and there was something about the fact that there's this thing that I find to be very cute even when it has a supernatural tinge that everybody else around me was like, "That's super scary." That really drew me to them. It's almost like you feel special when the thing everyone is scared of is something that you find very comforting. So I guess that's my experience with them. Funny enough, I don't think I have many other explicit, encounters with haunted doll stuff, but, in terms of my, VTuber, identity, I I think it was mostly I liked the idea of kind of the gap moe of being a
Hmm.
haunted doll, having this, exterior that doesn't necessarily match your interior. You know, haunted dolls look, cute and innocent on the outside and have something really creepy and disturbing, on the inside. For me, I feel like I have this very, this very cutesy and, almost like how would I say, elegant, design with the whole fancy dress on the outside, and if you've ever seen me on stream, I'm, very chaotic and, known to be quite lewd at some points, so I've always liked playing up that difference between what's on the outside and what's on the inside, and I think that's why I gravitated towards it.
Absolutely. Out of curiosity, I don't know if it's pomp and circumstance, but is there a certain porcelain VTuber that inspired you at all, or was it just tangential altogether?
Everyone asks me if I was inspired by Porcelain Maid. I
I'm
did
just
not know that
curious.
Porcelain Maid existed until 2 months ago,
So
after my debut.
here's the funny thing about that. So last week we had Bugs, actually one of them being one of the people you have collabed with in the past, Cliff.
Yes.
But we also kind of talked about something similar last week because I kind of wanted to see an insight on the other side of things because as some of us may know that are very like inside the VTuber sphere, if you look up like an insectoid or a bug VTuber, you're always going to get one singular person on Google. And that
Is
is
this Juniper?
unfortunately Juniper.
Yeah.
Juniper has like both cornered the market, but also kind of made stuff centralized towards her. And I don't think it's her like doing it on purpose, of course, but like I just hate the idea that like, oh, all haunted dolls are inspired by
I
this
agree.
person. It's that's not true at all. People.
I I feel that quite heavily. Funny enough, Juniper, I think, is actually like the main VTuber I followed that inspired me to get into VTubing in the first place. Which I find quite funny because I talk to Cliff quite a bit. But yeah, no, I feel like this happens with a lot of VTuber concepts. Obviously, there's very little concepts that are 100% unique just because there's like what 10,000 VTubers or probably more than that, something along that. And we can't all have like the
Yeah.
one unique idea no one has ever thought of. There's too many people for that. But
Yeah,
it does feel weird
totally.
when you get compared to like a big VTuber you've never even seen before. That being said, since people have been recommending Porcelain Made to me, I have actually watched them and do enjoy their content quite a bit.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just always I have to like I have to ask that question. I feel like it's mandatory just because we want to really accentuate the fact that just because there's one person that seems to be domineering the social like environment, that doesn't mean that everyone's based off of that. So
Yeah.
that's really cool to think about too. And Junie's cool, Joel's cool, but that doesn't mean that everybody's copying.
Yeah.
Like, give it a month and people are gonna be saying that the new V Shoujo member is what inspired half the bug VTubers out there, and they're gonna be like, I've been streaming for 3 years.
It happens so often, but it's like I don't think it's confirmation bias. I don't know what the term is for that, but I feel it's like kind of a natural thing to assume. People get inspired by popular people, but also I think it's interesting that everyone comes to, I guess, similar themes and ideas from different angles.
Yeah, absolutely. I also have to ask if you guys know of a certain like character out there that really messes me up too, and what your opinions on it are. Have you ever heard of a certain character called Slappy mayhaps?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Wait. Are you talking about Goosebumps Slappy?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
He's-
Slappy scared the shit out of me growing
He's
up.
one of my weak points too, because the thing is, I read like so many books. It wasn't even that I like saw him in like the TV show or anything like that. I honestly feel like what made his concept even scarier is like reading the details, so I have to like fill in the gaps with my brain.
Yeah, you definitely think of much scarier ideas when you're a kid than how he appeared in the movies, TV shows. I don't know what Goosebumps was. But yeah, definitely alongside Chucky, that was another one I was terrified of as a kid, even though Slappy turned out to be quite silly.
For
Goodness gracious.
Kai, Slappy was essentially a doll, or not even a doll, but like if you can think of like the standardized ventriloquist dummy, like the one with like the classic hair and like suit and that kind of stuff. R.L. Stein built like a whole story around a living, moving one that kinda caused chaos. And I think near the end, he kind of like was like the harbinger of everything. They kind of built him up to be the leader of everything that was going on.
I think there was
Goodness
like this
gracious.
one carnival arc in the Goosebumps
Yeah.
books where he was like the ringleader of some haunted carnival that there was like a series of like 10 books based on it. I don't remember. My memory is way too foggy, but I do think he became like the unofficial mascot of Goosebumps at
Yeah.
one point.
I know
Really?
that
Oh, that's interesting.
he will probably be popping back into modern media pretty big soon, because Disney is doing a remake of the Goosebumps show. So he will be in the limelight again soon. So be prepared for that.
I didn't know about
I'm very
this.
interested.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really exciting. Oh my God, I'm gonna binge that. That's like
I'm
super nostalgic to me.
actually excited, because if they do it well, then that will be like a really nice nostalgia train. And if you want to, I'm shilling for bigger creators right now, of course, but if you want to like learn about some of the old TV shows, Meat Canyon actually on his YouTube channel recently did a watch of the werewolf one. It's like the werewolf of something swamp, I forget. And then Stay Out of the Basement, which is like a plant-based horror story. And then he just did like a whole video too on him like ranking all of the episodes, which was super cool. So if you want to go on a nostalgia trip there or prepare for the TV show coming back, definitely take a peek at that.
Oh, I will definitely look into this. I remember my school library having all the Goosebumps books in the English as a foreign language section in the library, because English is not my native language, as you maybe can hear. But I never really read those books, and I didn't even know there was a TV show.
Honestly, I think Goosebumps was like a really cool thing to have around childhood too, especially as like a heavy reader, like I said, because I feel like by reading those horror stories, like I said, filling in the gaps with your brain can sometimes even make it scarier than like just seeing it all on a TV screen. In fact, I think seeing it on a TV screen sometimes can make it very cheesy, even, so that it's not as scary as it could be.
Yeah, if you want a good
Absolutely.
laugh, the old TV show, if you can find like a version of it, is a very fun watch just because it was made on a very low budget. So it is quite cheesy. Occasionally gets scary, but mostly is just kind of fun to watch and I have a lot of nostalgia for it, especially with like the really like nostalgic kind of cruddy B movie late 90s acting is just it's just an amazing vibe all around. My
Honestly,
dearest.
once it comes
Wonderful.
out, maybe we have to do a dive and make a comparison video about some of the older episodes versus some of the newer ones. I think that would be a fun thing to do.
Yeah, good idea.
Absolutely. Good
So
idea.
I'll have to try and put that in the brain and see if it stays in there.
Write it down before it
Yeah.
flies away.
Let's hop back into the questions though, so I don't go on another tangent because we know me.
Okay.
What do you believe makes your design or concept so unique? We'll hop over to Anise for the first this time.
Okay, let me remember what my notes said. Um, hmm. So I think I touched about this a bit when it comes to when it came to like why I gravitated towards a concept of, liking the idea of playing up the inner spirit in the outer form. I'm not sure if you've seen, but my VTuber actually has two different
Mm-hmm.
forms. So I can show that off right now. I can just go. I have my little ghost form, which is I like to say the true version of me, the version that is not a doll, that is instead just the ghost
Mm-hmm.
version. And I've always liked
Adorable.
that. I've always wanted to have a VTuber that's like technically two different models, and I really like having basically being my own mascot is,
Exactly.
in my opinion, a very cute idea. Let me embiggen myself now. There we go. Um, beyond that, a fun fact about my model, the dress that I'm wearing is actually based on a real outfit I own. I'm in the flesh world, very into gothic Lolita fashion, and I really wanted my VTuber model to show that interest off. So this is actually based off a real Lolita cord that I've actually worn on stream before.
Ooh.
Sometimes when I need to do a hand cam, I'll put it on, and there's a fun bit of I don't know what you would call it, like the digital mixing with the reality or whatever. There's a more eloquent way to say it, but yeah.
Absolutely. I think you did a hands cam stream like a week or two ago, and I think I saw it,
Yep,
if I
yep.
remember correctly.
It's why my model sleeves are like very floppy because the actual sleeves on that outfit are so floppy that unless I roll them up, you can't see my hands.
That's
Yeah.
so fun.
I'm a chronic lurker, so I'm always there, but you never even know. And
No.
also, your other model is very marketable plushie adjacent, so hopefully that may occur in the future.
I do like telling people I am quite literally a marketable plushie. So one day I will get plushie of myself and then just like, oh no, nail it to the wall and just have that as a little camera in the corner of my stream.
It's like the cat cam, but it's just the Anise plushie cam.
Just an Anise nailed to the wall.
Now, deferring to the same question, we will hop over to Kai.
Sorry,
No worries.
Bless you.
the stickly Victorian child has to be sick for a moment. Okay, so, well, I wouldn't really say that no one has ever done my idea before, so I'm not really claiming to be the one unique Victorian child. Mutator. I think what makes it rather quote unquote unique is probably the combination of a ragdoll with a funky winding key in the back and coralline eyes that looks like a Victorian flu faker boy who will die of probably tuberculosis, who happens to be
Assumption.
trans. That
I'm
might be the combination.
I'm honestly gonna be honest here, that was a sentence to be said, but I genuinely don't think that I've seen too many people that have like intermeshed the concept together. So I would disagree on that sentiment because I feel like a lot of people go into very much the either one or the other. They don't intermingle in them as frequently from what I've seen. So I'm sure there are some out there. But I just feel like that's kind of a market and a corner of the idea that isn't capitalized on a lot. So I definitely think it's unique, and like the detailing on that button just I keep looking at it because I'm like it's so well detailed. I love
Thank
I
you.
love Kai's model. It's so
I love it.
simplistic yet like creepy and odd at the same time. It's great.
I just
Oh, you're
love
so
button
kind.
eyes.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I spent so much time just drawing the button
It
and trying to figure out how to actually get the button on my eye.
it's so nice, dude. For real, for real. And don't, like I always say to everyone, just because you think that there's another person that has a similar concept doesn't ever take away from you having that concept. So remember that. Grr.
I just don't really like to pose myself as the one unique special
That's
guy out
fair.
there because we all are. Not everyone is 100% unique. We all have shared experiences, shared ideas, and I think that's actually what makes us all kind of a community and brings us all together. So I
Absolutely.
actually like the sentiment of, well, I might not be 100% unique, but that's okay. We're all guys who enjoy similar things.
Absolutely. And I mean, it kind of fits too because you're not 100% doll, you're not 100% human. So there you go.
Absolutely. I'm some weird thing in between. Sometimes I also claim I'm a homunculus because I might have been brought to life artificially. Who knows? I don't really have any law on my persona. I just use it to represent myself online.
See, that's already ahead of me because I just prefer to retcon things in to make things easier for myself later on.
I That's interesting. I think I have lore, but I'll be honest, a lot of my lore is purposely kind of shitposty. 'Cause I always wanted it to be lighthearted.
And Kai's trying to make sure I take care of myself.
Yes, I do because we all have to take care of ourselves. And I will drink some water right now.
Yeah. And now we get to listen to every bone in my body crack all at the same time.
I'm ready. I'm counting. Let's go.
Oh, hold on, let's go. I don't think my mic will pick it up though. That's the only thing. Every bone hurts. I'm grandpa
That was
in like all
6.
the server.
I hope you guys are standing up straight. Or sitting up straight, not standing up, sitting straight.
No, I'm always shrimping.
I don't have a spine,
Shame.
so it's okay.
Are you
That's
telling me
fair.
the shrimp fried this rice?
Oh my. I'll show
Based
myself
on
out.
what?
Let's go. Go where?
The bird flu? Yeah, they tend to do that.
Roadwork ahead? Oh, I sure hope it does.
Oh my god.
Apartment complex. I find it quite simple.
Oh my god. I can't believe Vine is showing back up in a fucking Hungry for Knowledge stream right now.
Don't worry, Vine never went away, truly. It's just lurking in the hearts and minds of everyone secretly, waiting to burst out like a lovely alien egg out of your chest.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Thank you. I'm a very normal person, by the way.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
We're all very normal individuals.
Absolutely. That's what makes us so much fun. Hopping along to the next question. What is your favorite haunted doll in myth or media? We'll hop over to Anise first this time.
Ah, the dreaded question, because there's like 5 haunted dolls in media, because they're weirdly rare. That being said, I'm going to have to give a shout out to Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. I grew up watching that film so many times. And it was probably the clearest design inspiration for my model, given like the whole patchwork concept. So it's very nostalgic. Other than her, I don't know. That question gets really, really difficult. There, you know what, the RPG Maker game, Pocket Mirror has some pretty good haunted dolls in it. But beyond that, it's like I just want to see more of them. I feel like haunted dolls are relatively rare for. I think a trope that's a lot more popular in like folk horror and a lot
Mm-hmm.
more like fairy tales than like modern day horror. And we deserve our time in the spotlight. Uh,
Absolutely.
if you're a writer, put us in. Put us in. Do it.
Put me in, coach, right now.
Put me in.
See, that's the tough part too, is like I feel like we're going in so deep into like mythos and horror and stuff as a media outlet altogether that like there's also so many occurrences where people want to disprove everything. So the existence of these relics is there, but less people are apt to acknowledge them because the belief isn't there. So not to say that it's not there at all, but I feel like haunted artifacts are kind of being ruined by pop culture sometimes because like I defer back to the same thing every time, which is the mythos of skinwalkers. If you know what a
Oh,
skinwalker is,
Oh, yeah.
skinwalkers are really like if you go deep into it, they're really scary, and like the concepts of them are not really a joke. Like they are legitimate like outcasts from Native American tribes because they've done something that's taboo, namely a lot of times cannibalism. And there's so many like ghost hunting channels and stuff out there that's like, I found a skinwalker on the Goat Man's Bridge, and it's like, bro, I almost feel like that's cultural appropriation at this point in a sense.
there is a bit of insensitivity, especially since I feel like a lot of times the use of especially skinwalkers and wendigos. I'm pretty sure a lot of natives have talked about how they're usually referred to very out of context, especially since those mythos can be very like locally specific. So it's kind of hard to like just say, oh yeah, they're the same entity anywhere you go in the Americas when as far as I know, they tend to be pretty different from like tribe mythos to tribe mythos.
Yeah, and the
That
like
being said, I'm no means an expert. I want to clarify before not to drastically shift things, but since we're talking about haunted dolls in media, can I just fastball really potentially no, almost certainly cursed question. Are the animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's haunted dolls?
Oh my god.
so something that I almost tangented to on the lore video that I made is I'm like, I should have just turned this into a haunted artifact adjacent like video, not just dolls, because something popped up recently actually. And the idea of what's scary about haunted dolls specifically for me is the concept of an inanimate object doing something that it shouldn't be doing. A really good example that just popped up in media. I don't know if either of you guys have seen it yet, but there is a video that King Pixels made, the creator of the Backrooms. It's called The Rolling Giant. And he basically took this piece of folk art from a state that like just really creeped him out and gave animation and like the ability to move and create chaos almost to that what was at one point just a statue sitting there, but now all of a sudden it's something that's hunting you down. So like I feel like that's where FNAF fits in that, oh, you just expect this animatronic to be sitting here on a stage wiggling around doing whatever it's supposed to do, but now all of a sudden it's chasing you. So it's just like I don't know that I would necessarily defer to that as a haunted doll, I would put artifact almost in that sentence.
Fair enough.
That's my tangent, at least.
I mean, you got your point.
Yeah, it's just that I don't know. I'm a dork. I like talk. I could talk about this stuff for hours.
Honestly, talking is good. We like information. We like interesting information. So why not? Why stop yourself?
Just because I have to edit it afterwards, then I have to keep things specific sometimes. So that's why I have to stop myself, because I'll go wackadoo. But what would be your opinion, Kai? I wanna let you have insight too.
Opinion on what exactly now?
If you
Fridays at Freddy's.
Yeah, if you think FNAF would fit into a haunted doll concept.
It's a little bit. I think it's a bit of a gray zone here because we need to define what is a doll. Is an animatronic a doll, or is it something else? I personally think animatronics are more like some kind of robot. So I don't know if now we have to specify: is a robot a doll?
So here's the thing. This is why I was thinking about it initially, because the in between animatronics and dolls would be automatons, which are just effectively dolls with like gears and mechanical components that let them do rudimentary movements. And an animatronic is just that with circuitry added. So I guess it's like I think haunted doll is more of a different thing because of the vibes that idea elicits. If you hear that, you think very much like this old antique, usually Victorian porcelain doll, or you know, you think of Annabelle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to see how that line can be blurred, because I think effectively a doll would just be considered like an inanimate object used for primarily play that usually evokes a relatively anthropomorphic appearance, which I guess you could write an animatronic into that category. So
Yeah.
I like to say that they are, because I want haunted dolls to be relevant in modern media right now. So I'll take it.
I agree with that sentiment. I also like something, this is tangential too, but I also kind of chuckle at myself sometimes because I say I'm afraid of dolls, but like if you were in my room right now, you'd see to my left I have a whole case of figures. To my right, there's a shelf with a bunch of anime figures. To the bottom of the stairs, there's like a whole Datoff case full of figures. So it's also like I'm scared of dolls, but I like statues and figures and shit like that. So my family is very confused by that. They're like, "How can you have all these?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know how that works." I think it's just like you said, the concept of what you'd expect a haunted doll to be, which is that very Victorian chic, which I do want to defer to the Annabelle comment in that they popularized her as a Victorian doll.
But she
isn't even remotely close to that. She's literally just a Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah, but it's what you think of when you think haunted doll,
Exactly.
which is I think why they made her a porcelain Victorian doll in the movie, because it fits the common cultural zeitgeist. Zeitgeist, that's the term I'm looking for. I have to use the vocabulary.
It also makes me like sit down and wonder. This is something I think about all the time that is probably not even something in people's head. But it also, when I look to Annabelle and the Conjuring movies, I'm always wondering, I don't know how well you guys know this stuff, because again, this is just weird stuff that goes through my head all the time. But I'm always wondering the level of control the Warrens had on that film, which, if you aren't familiar with who I'm talking about, there were paranormal investigators slash demonologists slash psychic mediums, a couple named Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were a bundle of that, with Ed being a priest, demonologist, as he called himself, paranormal researcher, all that, and his wife Lorraine being said to be a psychic medium. And they were actually the people who were air quotes, because again, I don't know the validity of it, but they were, as Ed said, called in with this priest that was sent to exorcise this doll. So I'm always wondering how much of their life they built to create media off of. So that's just like a little brain rot moment for me. I'm sorry for interrupting.
It's okay. I feel like it's in our nature as VTubers to get sidetracked. So
Absolutely. Also, I actually really like when people talk about things they're interested in. You can literally hear the passion, and it's so nice.
Let's go over to Kai's favorite haunted doll and myth or media.
Well, as Anise said, there aren't really a lot of haunted dolls in media. Sorry. I would maybe say what the haunted dolls I like the most are from the indie horror game Mad Father. It's a whole game just packed with haunted dolls and dolls that come alive
the
during
taste.
a fated night, basically. And those, and in combination with there's one niche character from the first season of Black Butler.
Ooh.
Those are my favorites. Like in the first season of Black Butler, we actually don't talk about the season because it's actually kind of bad. There is one arc about girls disappearing, and it's being hinted at that there is somebody abducting them. And low-key spoiler alert, there's this one creepy puppeteer doll maker who looks really cool, by the way. He has a very good design. Who kind of abducted those children, those girls, and turned them into dolls. And he himself, turns out, is a doll as well, just filled with straw. And yeah, I'm very conflicted about this character because I actually rewatched the first season of Black Butler due to the announcement of the fourth season. And the story is actually really bad, but the design and the concept could have been really great if they had been executed nicely. So I would say this puppeteer from Black Butler and the whole game Mad Father, those are my favorites. And also Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, but we had that one already in Anise's answer.
That kind of like tangents us to another pivot point almost, in that like how often I feel like puppeteers are in media more frequently than the puppets and dolls themselves, now that I think about it, because it can be as simple, I suppose, as like I'm very tangential in this, but like Sasori from Naruto all the way to like, I don't know, now we go back to the side of like Slappy, who I believe at one point had someone, but then kind of went off and did his own thing. So that kind of adds to the appeal almost, and the concept of people getting turned into dolls too is kind of creepy. Ooh, I don't even want to think about that.
I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, I went through it and it wasn't the worst thing ever. I mean, it hurts for like quite a while, but you get used to it.
just gonna head back real quick. Just insert
Just gotta check on
SpongeBob
something in
meme.
the back.
This took us a while to process.
See, I said SpongeBob meme, but this person is right. The fades into the bushes, the Homer Simpson.
Yeah, face into the bushes. That's a very. Oh my god!
My gosh.
Thank you, Anise. Thank you.
Of course.
Hopping along to the next question, so I don't let myself get sidetracked again, because we love to see that. What is one concept of a haunted doll or object? I added object because, like we said, haunted dolls aren't as prominent, and they're kind of, it's almost tough to make them unique sometimes. that you haven't seen in VTubing or media that you would like to see more of? We'll start with, who did I let go first last time? Whoever wants to start first.
That's a very
Uh,
hard question to ask, honestly. Just pick one.
We'll let Anise go first this time.
okay, I can do this. I got this. My answer is, I mean, it's slightly boring, but I don't see a lot of haunted doll VTubers in general. So I guess I just want to see more of us around. I think if I'm interested in any specific concept, I think one of the reasons why I'm specifically attracted to the idea of a doll VTuber is because, at least when it comes to like my actual experience with dolls, I've always been interested in them as like a vehicle of fashion. I
Mm-hmm.
really like designing clothes for dolls has always been really intriguing to me, and I feel like you could really being a doll VTuber gives you the opportunity to have a very eclectic and vast wardrobe. And I know that's actually very expensive or takes like a
Yeah.
lot of artistic talent, but like if I ever saw a VTuber that was a doll that was like super into fashion, I had like a bunch of outfits and they really liked showing that off, like that would scratch the little itch in my brain that's really interested in the fashion side of things. So yeah, that wardrobe. I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon because, cost, but yeah.
You're so right though, because playing with the concept of a doll as a VTuber is basically what a VTuber is. You're basically
We're
puppeting
just
a little digital
dressing
doll. So why
ourselves
not
up
play with the
however we
concept?
want to be. So we'll kind of go over to you now, Kai. What
Oh,
would
me.
you like to see more of?
um, I don't really have an answer about the VTuber aspect here, but more about the media aspect. And I have a very Eurocentric answer for this one. I just would love to see more haunted dolls from continental Europe, especially when it comes to cultural dolls, because there's so many different cultures spread across Europe, and they all have their unique kind of dolls. Like I don't know what culture they are from, but I once saw this concept of little dolls that are supposed to eat your sorrows, and they're
Mhm.
called sorrow eater if you translate it literally. And I actually had one of those when I was a child. They are very very tiny, just as big as your finger, and you can put
Oh,
them underneath your pillow, and they're supposed to eat your bad dreams and stuff like that. And I mean, maybe it's not from a European culture. This thing. Maybe I'm delusional, but there's so many different kinds of dolls that you could just take and be creative with. Or for example, Slavic matryoshka dolls. Everything. There's so much you can use. I don't know why there's so few dolls in media, honestly. And if they take dolls, it's now I'm being a hypocrite, but it's mainly English Victorian dolls.
yeah. So then
So
I kind of
sorry.
have a question off of that then. This is a two-parter cuz another piece came to me in the middle of thinking about it. How do you guys feel like mannequins fit in?
I
Ooh.
Ooh. I think mannequins are pretty similar to
Mhm.
porcelain dolls and like kind of the vibe and everything. I think the issue with I guess with true mannequins is that mannequins don't have a face, right? So I feel like they're designed to have less personality than an actual porcelain doll. That being said, I think a lot of people who do porcelain doll, I'm mentioning Joel, but
Mhm.
like Joel has very mannequin-esque
Yeah.
proportions and like the doll joints are very inspired by that type of mannequin like art doll. So I guess it's like from what I've seen, tends to be a design inspiration, but due to the depersonalization aspect of mannequins, I don't think you see them much in the VTuber space. I think it would be interesting. It'd be very interesting. Someone made like them that their entire VTuber thing, but like as like an outfit thing, I think that could definitely work. It'd even be a fun like chat mascot. I might
Something
need
that
to write
just
that
like
down.
popped into my head that I think would be so like funny almost is if someone
True.
went like full mannequin for their VTuber model, but every single stream they would leave their face blank, but they would draw a new face for every stream. So it would be great for somebody if they were already an existing artist, even, where they can kind of do like a cool different face every single time. That was something that just popped into my head now that I think
Ooh,
about
that's
it.
actually
Such a cute
it's like
concept.
the cat from Animal Crossing,
I need to
Blanco, where you draw the
trademark
face.
this.
You in chat, steal it quick before we write it down.
Another one that just kind of popped into my head that I almost feel like is tangential and might not fit either is, and this has doll in the name, but is again very off the road from like the Victorian-esque that we're used to seeing. But what would be your guys' opinions on like a nesting doll?
A nesting doll. Wait,
What,
Like
like
the
to make
Russian
choice?
nesting dolls, like
Oh,
the
my
ones that
choice,
have like a bunch of little ones inside.
Oh yeah, I mentioned those earlier. Like, I think those are really, really cool. A really cool concept, and even though they're sometimes used a lot in songs like Matryoshka, I think they're not used enough in pop culture, especially in the horror genre.
I honestly, I'm just giving out free ideas today, I guess, but VTuber group based on Russian nesting dolls, do it. Every single one is like, so there's the biggest one, the middle one, the little one. Each one of them is a different person. That would be crazy. That would be so
cute.
fun.
Absolutely.
I'm just giving out free ideas. Damn, I need to start charging.
Just become a marketing agent for VTubers.
But definitely, I definitely feel like I wasn't very smart in not going over mannequins, because I feel like mannequins are something that is like that honestly kind of fits in more with my fear itself, which is the idea of something faceless and what's supposed to be static and unmoving moving. Like you look at a good game that I played a little while back was oh gosh, what was that game that had all the music was done by the Living Tombstone? Oh fudge, I can't remember. But there was like a whole section of it that was all like surrounded by mannequins. Like it was like a shopping area, and like the mannequins at first seemed to be bad guys, but then at the end there was even like an achievement as you were like jumping through the world. You could high five the mannequin and that would give you an achievement. So it's like, I honestly think that that game kind of dispelled some of my fears of mannequins, because they kind of just made it goofy at the end. Because
That sounds so fun.
one of my Oshis out there, Josuiji Shinri, was like very transparent about how much he loved like spooky games, but mannequins, he's like, I don't do mannequins. Oh my gosh, I got big brain today. Dang, I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back with this one.
You better do that. But
I'm a
honestly, yeah, I
VTuber.
think mannequins, as Anise said earlier, because of the lack of personality, I think it's really hard to make them a main character, but they do work so well as side characters. And I'm so thinking of the game Eep right now, where they are side characters and chasing you. Those headless mannequins that are chasing you.
Ooh, headless
I
almost
really
makes
like
it
Eve.
worse.
Like,
I just wanted to say the game itself, in my opinion, is not that scary. It has some scary concepts, but it's not too scary actually. Even though it plays a lot into the creepy doll aesthetic.
I was just gonna say, I think about how I'm pretty sure every single haunted doll that I've met who's a VTuber, like all of us are obsessed with RPG Maker horror games, and I think it's just because that's where like a lot of haunted dolls and like at least video game media, they're very prevalent in that very specific genre.
Absolutely, like
Honestly,
Midfather.
one of the
Yeah.
best things that I've seen come out. I'm trying to remember the game now. Oh, this is gonna frustrate me. But like, it was reminiscent of, if you guys are familiar with I think it was a VR game, but there was like the FNAF game where like you were maintenance on the animatronic. I forget which
Sister
one.
location?
I can't remember. I'm not super well versed in that. But there was also an indie game, and I wish that I could remember what it was called. But it was like another one reminiscent of that. But it was also like a clown that you were like sitting there staring down, and like it, spoilers for if anyone can remember it. But like near the end, you discover that like there's somebody in there. So it's kind of the same concept of what FNAF is believed to be, and that people were jammed inside these animatronics. So now they're acting human because of that almost, I feel like. I don't know. Those are like the closest we've gotten to like haunted dolls in a while, and they're always going towards the animatronic skew, I feel like.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. Because you expect
can't.
animatronics to move.
Yeah.
Maybe because they're trying to find a more modern approach to it. Could it be?
Wait. Okay. I think I have a crazy theory.
Ooh.
Okay, haunted
Okay.
dolls are specifically common in like folk horror and a lot of like older horror tales because it plays on the fear of nostalgia. Because in like a lot of people, you play as dolls as a kid and then ooh, it's spooky later on in life. It's the corruption of innocence. And I feel like just in modern days, dolls have kind of at least in like a lot of in a lot of places have kind of faded out of like popular culture as like I mean, at least for me, growing up, I had a few dolls, but that's because I had a very crazy specific interest. And like most people growing up were more into like TV, video games, stuff like that. I don't know, Legos, whatever. Toys that weren't dolls. But I feel like a lot of people growing up in especially like the late 90s, early 2000s, have nostalgia for animatronic places like Chuck E. Cheese's. So I feel like it's the same type of horror. It's the horror of something nostalgic from your youth that you associate with innocence being corrupted. It's just being updated for the modern times in where people play with dolls less.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment, because I mean, another adjacent topic I almost feel like is I don't know if anybody remembers the game Tattletale.
Yes.
I've heard of
Which
that.
I almost feel like is adjacent because they took the concept of Furbies, which were creepy as hell for us. I'm assuming most of us are around the same generation. I know I'm grandpa most of the time, but like Furbies were like super well known for being for a while because they would just go off in the middle of the night and start saying stuff. So that, I feel like, because did Tattletale come before FNAF, or did FNAF come before Tattletale? I can't remember.
Let's find that out.
I think it came out after, because I feel like Mark was already playing FNAF before it came out.
Tattletale came out 2016, so it came after FNAF because FNAF came out when I was still in high school, and I remember that because this is such a funny tangent I could go on because I wanted a nightmare that featured Bonnie the rabbit from FNAF. But the thing is, FNAF wasn't out yet. It was like 1 year away of releasing. And that's why the release of FNAF was so crucial to me, or like so daunting to me, because it was that goddamn rabbit from my nightmare. So yeah, Tattletale came after FNAF.
But yeah, like somebody just said in the chat, they're definitely playing off of the nostalgia that we had from like Chuck E. Cheese and Chuck E. Cheese adjacent places, because I mean, at the point where FNAF was coming out, I think there was a lot of like Chuck E. Cheese's and stuff that were closing too, because I'm not aware of a ton of them that still exist. I think a lot of them closed. I think the company started to not do great, and I mean, I think it was just a generational divide because, I mean, you can get the games at Chuck E. Cheese on your phone now. Honestly, it's not the same because you can't get prizes per se, but I don't know. I don't know where we went wrong.
I mean, honestly, I cannot speak about Chuck E. Cheese because we don't have that here in Europe.
Yeah. Did you have, is there any like animatronic themed like restaurants or anything like that over there?
I at least, I mean, I live in Austria, which doesn't really have much of that anyway. But the
Yeah.
only animatronic kind of themed thing I remember was this theme park in the east of the country. I don't know if they still have those there. I haven't been there for like 10 years, but they had it's a park that's mainly marketed as a fairy tale park. They had little booths with animatronics telling you different fairy tales and folk tales. And they had this absolutely cursed barn with a band of anthropomorphic farm animals performing songs, and the lead singer was the Puss in Boots wearing a farmer's attire.
Oh my gosh.
That sounds
And
great.
I was so smitten with it. I absolutely loved it as a child, but not too long ago I tried finding video footage of it, and it looks so cursed. I absolutely do remember everything. I was so hyper fixated on that thing. I can remember everything. I will
Because
tell you about it after the stream.
honestly, something that I think is becoming popularized or may have been popularized too is obviously urbex or urban exploration, but also like abandoned theme parks and stuff like that. Like a really good one that I saw a little while back was there was like one in Japan that somebody was exploring, but when you really think about like the places that were animatronic heavy too is just so jarring because like this place that they were going through had like a whole like almost yokai centric area, so there was like a lot of oni and stuff like that that were like statues and stuff that were just sitting there from like being a scary little attraction at the time. So abandoned theme parks are kind of fun. I could never go to it because I'd probably poop myself, honestly, but I
I
really
would
like
love to
watching
go.
videos and stuff of it. It's so much fun.
Honestly, if this theme park I just talked about ever gets abandoned, I would so explore that place. They are still running, and I think the business is good for them. But if it ever gets abandoned, I will explore that place.
Honestly, I think there might even be a resurgence and stuff like that with the popularity of things like FNAF because like kids like animatronics again. Like I feel like there was the dip of like the fall of Chuck E. Cheese into creating the fear of FNAF, and then now I don't know why I'm doing things with my hands again, but now we're going to like the point where kids and people like animatronics and FNAF again. So now that's just gonna like climb into culture again almost. I don't know. It's an interesting thought.
Absolutely.
So the next question, I feel like we might have already talked about this, but we'll just get it in there anyways. Is what do you believe makes the concept of a haunted doll or object so scary? And we'll start with Kai this time.
Oh, I have a good answer for this one. I actually did a bit of research on what scares people because sometimes I work as a haunted house actor. So people are scared of the unknown, especially when they at first think they are safe. And if you take something familiar or innocent looking, like let's say for example, to take the haunted house acting thing, let's say we have a normal looking person, but there's something off about them and you can't really explain what it is. There's like some primal instinct getting triggered inside of you that you maybe shouldn't trust this thing. And that's kind of the same with dolls because they are so familiar to you. You maybe grew up with dolls, but there's something off about those dolls because they start moving with even though they shouldn't. Maybe they are blinking. Maybe they look at you with those empty eyes, and you feel uneasy. You feel on edge because that it shouldn't be that way, and you kind of want to just leave and causes fears inside of you. That's
This
my
is
feeling.
kind of like, it's kind of funny how you're so thorough in it, because I know exactly, I don't know if this is spawning off of it, but it kind of goes hand in hand with, like you said, which you're very well versed in, like witch trials and stuff like that, kind of goes hand in hand with concepts like witches, or even another one that pops into my head, which is like the idea and concepts of what a freak show was, which is, oh my god, bearded lady, like that, they aren't supposed to have hair, which is very controversial nowadays, I feel like. But like, the concepts of that, just beyond the norm, kind of scared people for a long time. And I think, I almost feel like some of the horror nowadays is harder to scare people because we aren't as afraid of that. I don't know. Pop culture kind of does weird stuff to our brains sometimes.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're being desensitized by pop culture, and also because we are constantly exposed to media that shows us very violent things, be it the news or just any information on the internet or horror things. So you have to get creative if you want to scare people.
Absolutely. What would be your answer to that, Anise?
Okay, so I feel like we've talked about this quite a bit, so I don't have too much to add, I don't think. I guess something that popped into my mind while we were talking about it is we've been also talking about how, at least in recent years, I feel like haunted dolls have not been super prevalent in at least pop culture. And I feel like because of that, that might be the reason why a lot of people still find haunted dolls spooky, is because there isn't that great of an oversaturation of them. They're still considered something that I feel is pretty classical in terms of horror. So I don't know. I feel like it has a lot of staying power because it's not the most prevalent horror concept. So it's not one you're constantly going to be exposed to. Weirdly enough, I think that's maybe why mannequins are almost more played out, because they're like a very common trope in video games specifically. But oh no, I feel like stories of haunted dolls also tend to lend itself more to folk tales. Like, I remember I was a huge fan of creepypasta back in the day, and there's so many like creepypasta stories about like haunted dolls, ventriloquist dummies, random artifacts. You can find eBay listings of haunted dolls, and I feel like it definitely that tale exists more in like very much the folk horror space of sharing very small, intimate stories rather than appearing in larger, more saturated projects. So I don't think that's an answer to why they're scary, but that's just an observation I made. The second thing I just want to mention is, at least from my perspective, I like haunted dolls specifically because I'm not scared of them. They're a thing I was scared of and not scared of. I think a lot of people are irrationally scared of, and I find a lot of comfort in that. I think I am the type of person who quite literally, like, I have a lot of interest in like the custom doll creation that tends to look very uncanny and freaks out so many of my friends. And I'm almost like more aggressively into that interest because it freaks out people around me. Yet I'm like, what's wrong? It's just a cute doll. Why are you scared of it? There's nothing to be scared of here. And I like the vibe that comes from liking something that to me is very cutesy and effeminate, and a lot of people being like weirdly scared of that. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why on that part. I know it's because of like the uncanny thing, but I don't know. I feel like there's some joy to be found there.
Let me
So I don't think I
defer.
answered your question, but there's some observations.
Let me divert based off of your answer almost, because I can just tangent on something else. Thanks, my brain. Let's take a look at. I know this probably doesn't scare a lot of people, but can we take a moment to think about the freaking spider doll from Toy Story.
Oh my god, I hated it as a child.
That
You don't
that's kind
understand.
of that kind of like that's kind of what popped into my head as you said the uncanny valley of like the creation of them, which with that doll being like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember exactly, but it was like a baby doll head mounted on like a spider body with like spikes and stuff. It was just, it wasn't like scary, like I'm gonna get scared of it. It's just like creepy because it's so uncanny. That's just the first thing
Absolutely.
that popped into my head as you
I
said the
love that
uncanny
spider
valley.
doll.
I mean, I personally have a vendetta against that thing because I'm arachnophobic. That's the one thing I'm scared of.
Oh,
See,
this
that's my
is
issue. I love spiders as well as dolls, so it's like a perfect combination of everything I like.
this is the
There's a-
duality of the screen right now. On one side, we have the person whose Twitter name is literally Spider Enjoyer, and then on the other side, we have someone who's arachnophobic. The duality right now.
That's amazing, honestly.
That's fucking great. Now, before we go into like the final question and the wrap up, something that popped into my head that I just kind of want you guys' opinions on it. Why do you guys think that dolls can be construed as scary, but plushies and things like that are something that are so comforting? I know that wasn't a question we had, but it popped into my head because I'm like, I hate dolls, but I turn around and I see like 50 plushies on my bed. So it's like, once again, the duality.
That's a very interesting question, though, and I think I have a theory on that. I think we can again pick up the thing that I mentioned earlier with the uncanny valley coming from the unknown, but stemming from something familiar. Like dolls were actually created to be kind of comforting to you, and to either be companion or to just comfort you if you want to snuggle onto something. And if there's just one thing off about that one thing that gives you comfort, it might scare you because you are so vulnerable towards that one thing. Like, for example, if I would absolutely flip my shit if my if my blowhive plushie would suddenly move, which
Oh
I
gosh.
cuddle on a daily basis when I'm trying to sleep, because you, as I said, you're getting vulnerable towards those items that are supposed to comfort you, and if they might turn against you, that's absolutely terrifying.
That almost kind of goes, I apologize for jumping ahead of you, Anise, but that almost kind of what confuses me here, and this is me once again trying to disprove the theories of Ed and Lorraine Warren, is the reason that they say artifacts like Robert or like Annabelle were so powerful is because they were given so much attention. So it's kind of weird how we can now look at that and like, I have a bajillion Growlithe plushies back there, and if I'm like sad, I'm gonna go and immediately seek them for comfort, or if I need something to sleep with to like feel more comfortable, I'm gonna seek that out. So it's almost like it's weird that that was the concept they were building off of, when now I honestly don't think I know anybody who doesn't like sleep with a plushie anymore. So we're all giving that attention, but I've yet to meet someone who's also said, oh, like for me, my Growlithe doesn't jump up in the morning on me and I get creeped out by it. Like, I do think there's a ghost up here because it flung a statue one day, but that's neither here nor there. I told it off and it hasn't bothered me since. But that was just something that fun that popped into my head because I'm always tangenting and thinking about things. I don't know. Do you have an opinion on that, Anise?
Uh, hmm. I mean, I guess because I'm not too familiar with these theories, to be perfectly honest. So I feel like it would kind of be like me refuting refuting something I don't have a great understanding of. That being said, I think there is a difference between like the idea of giving positive attention to an object and giving very negative attention to an object. And if I'm going to bust out like my knowledge of folklore, I feel like I've been saying that a lot. But the idea of a haunting usually comes from very specific negative emotions
Mhm.
exhibited from something. And the idea of something comforting, of being charged with that negativity, I think is the thing that causes the idea of the haunting. So I think the reason you don't see that is because people generally just love their plushies, like
Yeah.
unconditionally. And like there's not a big tragedy that is circulating around them. I feel like that story would come from, say, I don't know how it even come about
Mhm.
typically, but usually it's like, oh, this plush which was a very comforting force for like some reason was involved in a great tragedy, and that's the thing that gives it that malefic energy that twists it into something to be scared of. Uh, that being said, that is my best guess.
So that again kind of is the duality of the concept of my plushie that I have on my bed that I hold every night and the concept of what is Annabelle, which is Annabelle was starting to, and again, this is all hearsay. I always say take Annabelle with a grain of salt because I'm never so sure about the Warrens. Um, but it is said that she was starting to exhibit paranormal activity when the two women who had it at their house started to acknowledge it as something almost human. So, to put into perspective, they started talking to it like it was a person, and then they said, oh, it lifted its arms up and put it on the table after they said, what do you want for breakfast, Raggedy Ann? Like, so that's almost like a positive haunting now because they're not actively trying to scare anyone. They're just kind of trying to interact with you. But then when Annabelle went wrong is the point where one of their boyfriends fell asleep after he was frequently telling them that it creeped him out, they should destroy it. And then now he says that he woke up after dreaming that this doll tried to unalive him. And so he decided that it would be a good idea to pick it up, say it has no power, and chuck it across the room. So now we're charging it with negative
Yeah.
energy. So now we're creating a negative paranormal interaction. So that's very fitting to the existing folklore, if you will.
Yeah.
Sorry to steal that away from you.
No, no, no worries. No, you're centering it in an actual example. I'm going off of like a barely remembered research I've done in a library once upon a time.
Someone once told me if you were truly scared of something, then you should try and know as much about it so that you can't be scared of it anymore. That's why I know so much.
That's fair. I know very little about anything because I'm scared of very little, it seems.
See, and that's an advantage I wish I had. So now, kind of wrapping our stuff up a little bit so I don't let myself go on any more tangents. What was the scariest experience or legend that you've heard or had around your area? And we'll start with. I'm going to start with Anise first because I know that Kai's going to have a little bit more specific stuff.
Okay, so I'm gonna be transparent. I don't know that many like local legends about like scary things that happen in my area. I know they exist, but like I'm just not familiar with them. My house growing up was haunted though, so I can say this very fun time when I was 5 years old. I remember brushing my teeth in we had a weird design for a bathroom where basically it had two doors, one on either side of it, like it was like a weird sub hallway. I guess that's the best way to describe it. It was like long and rectangular, and there was like a sink on one end of it. And one night I was brushing my teeth, and both of the doors were open, which I didn't think anything of. But when I turned to after like spitting and trying to get back to my bedroom, I was face to face with like a 6 foot tall, completely skinned man, just no skin, all muscle, lots of blood. They screamed because I screamed at them. I felt blood splatter on my face. I blinked and they were gone, and I still remember that to this day. So that's
Jesus
the
Christ.
most paranormal thing that's happened to me directly.
So then I have to ask, because I'm always curious, have you ever looked up any of the history of that house at any point? Or did you
Um,
just never look back?
I'm not gonna lie, I've never looked at any specific legend. I'm not gonna lie, the reason why I didn't is because I saw it a few more times and it was
Hmm.
relatively benign. Like as scary as that description sounds, I never got the sense that it was a malefic entity. It kind of gave off like a weirdly comforting vibe, despite being so disturbing on the offset.
Yeah,
So like I saw it a few times, like scuttling around the house, but nobody really paid it that much mind. So nobody researched it. But it very, very evocative imagery that sits with me to this day.
that's very interesting. It's like, but that kind of defers to what we talked about earlier too, in that spirits in most circumstances, an emphasis on most circumstances, are reactive to the actions that we take. So something I talked about last week is I get something thrown, I say don't do that. It usually doesn't happen again because I asked them not to do that.
Yeah.
Versus if I say, hey, F you, I'm going to hate you, then I might get something else thrown at me. So it's like, hopefully you didn't take that seriously if you're over there right now. I promise I was joking. Please don't hurt me. Anyways.
Oh goodness.
So now I know that you have a couple specific ones. So I am gonna choose. Let's do some landmark stuff. I'm curious.
Okay, so for the context, I wrote down in the script that we can pick between a legend about the devil, a ghost, and a landmark. And because I am kind of a walking encyclopedia about the legends of my home region. I was always very, very interested in those. And I don't want to share any paranormal experiences because they're a little personal. So here we
Fair
go.
enough.
So the landmark one. I actually live very close to this one. Um, so it's a legend that apparently goes back to the medieval times of my hometown. It's not very spooky actually. It's just interesting. So there was a criminal who was caught and begged for his life because the judge initially wanted to like sentence him to death. And the criminal said, "Oh, please, please, no! I need to steal because I would have died otherwise." And the judge became merciful and told him, "Okay, so you are allowed to live if you can leave the city's territory while people are throwing rocks at you, and you must not come back ever again." So the man took on the challenge, and he ran and he ran and he ran. While all the people of the town threw rocks at him, and right at the border of the town, he nearly made it. He collapsed and died,
Oh
and
no.
where where he supposedly died, there is a cross made of rock standing in the forest right now, and I actually like to visit the cross. I don't know, it gives me some comforting vibes. I've also heard a variation where people claimed that the man is resting underneath the cross and slowly pulling it down. But I've been visiting this cross for over 20 years now, and it never moved, so that's bogus. And it's been here for several centuries. So, but yeah, I actually really like this cross, and I like to visit it from time to time.
I mean, I almost feel like it's something that could be construed as comforting for you too, because that kind of goes directly with some of the things we were talking about before, in that he wasn't inherently bad from the way the story goes. It was kind of one of those scenarios where, like, I stole because I didn't have anything to eat or something like that, or I stole because I wanted to make sure my daughter had food, or that kind of concept. And albeit, I'm genuinely surprised that there is no story of a vengeful spirit, because I feel like in some of those circumstances you would expect them to want vengeance. But if that person was human enough and had emotion, I can also see where they wouldn't want to act upon that, because they view it as, this is kind of not really their fault. This is something they were told they had to do, you know? So
Exactly,
it's like,
yeah.
it's not truly, they weren't trying to get him. They were just, you have to do this or else you're in trouble. So if they had a general understanding of that, then I feel like they could pass on restfully and not feel like they have to go after someone, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think so too. I mean, I have to confess, I'm not sure about all the details of the story, and if the people were forced to throw rocks at him. It's more of a legend, so we don't know how much is true of that. But yeah, it's a legend.
I also feel like that's why some hauntings that existed are very, like, you go to this house that was supposedly super haunted, but you're not getting any activity now because the thing that they were vengeful about, like, that person may have passed on themselves, so they don't really have, like, this is a bad example because there's quoted still negative entities, but, like, if you think about like the Axe Murder House, like, these people were all murdered, but at the same time, I feel like the more you see people visit that house, the less active it is. And I almost feel like that might be because the person who actually did it has now passed on, so they don't really have anywhere to direct their frustrations either. I don't know. I also feel like it kind of goes with the tangent of, sometimes when you're upset with something, those emotions start to fade over time as you kind of move on from it and you just live your own life. I don't know. That's something interesting to think about too there. All right. We are going to wrap up, I think, then, just so I don't keep you guys up too long or around too long if you guys are busy.
Don't worry,
But
it's not too late yet.
I do want to give both of you an opportunity to shout out anything that you would like, which I will let Anise go first again. If there's any just streams, anything you're working on, any of that kind of stuff.
Not anything in particular that I haven't already shouted out. Just, I guess I want to say thanks to all the viewers who are watching. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to us. And yeah, you guys rock.
Is there anything special that you're going to be streaming this week, or is it just the normal
I think it's
stuff?
just a normal. I have a video coming out on Halloween on my ASMR channel, so I guess that's the closest thing to a shout out, but that's still in the works. So, bleh.
It's still occurring, so everybody definitely make sure to check out Anise's ASMR channel, so that you can see that go on. Is there anything special that you're working on right now, Kai?
Well, I actually posted a premiere announcement today. I am having a very small, very imperfect Halloween cover coming out on, well, Halloween at 2:30 p.m. Central European time, and that's actually all that's coming from my way at the moment. But I actually want to shout out also, like Anise, the wonderful viewers who listen to us. And I just want you all to take care, drink enough water, and be kind to yourselves.
Oh
Don't
my
push yourselves
gosh.
too hard.
And that's the wholesomeness that is Kai Karamba. And everybody cross your fingers that they can find an animator, because I'd love to see you guys in action in that CB coming up too.
Oh my
I
God.
really hope so. So everybody cross your fingers for that.
If you're an animator and you still need a CB team for vintage CB, please hit me up. We are so desperate, but as things are going right now, we might just do a casual collab out of this.
That's fair. But everybody make sure to check out the Haunted Doll video too, because I did really put a lot of work into it, and you got to remember, I'm scared of this stuff, so I did this all for you. So please check that out, and make sure to follow Kai on Twitter, because Kai doesn't stream very often. And then make sure you check out Anise on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch too. Because they're all over the place and they're super cool. So if you don't support, then I'll give you a knuckle sandwich.
No threats.
Don't
No
be
threats
violent.
needed.
Don't
Fair
be
enough.
violent, or we get violent. We still are haunted dolls. We can haunt you.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
you don't want to give us the negative energy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully I show up for stream on Monday, guys. I'll see you next time.